Welcome back to Not Hot Ones, the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. I'm your host, not Sean Evans. Today's guest is a panelist, a podcaster, and an editor, all in one. We are here today with co-host of the Nakama podcast and host of the Anime Dispatch, Cruz. Hey, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Good, hungry.
Yay, me too. Alright, today we're starting off with the classic garlic Fresno edition with 1700 Scoville units and some very, very mild questions. You're constantly putting out different episodes and different types of content. How do you find inspiration in your episodes?
I just scrolling around on social media for the most part. I run different social media accounts for each thing. Like when it comes to the Nakama, it's purely just, it's a review show. So what's out? What are people talking about? You'll hear about that on Twitter, Reddit, whatever.
Do you take a lot of input from your viewers?
Yeah, when it comes, yeah. It's fun. That's not a spicy cough. That's a...
liar.
That's a chicken going down the wrong pipe cough. But with the Dispatch, it's purely just, I run different social media accounts for different things. And so for that one, everything's very anime focused.
Mm-hmm.
So if I see something come across that is like, oh, I can talk about that for a couple minutes, then that's what I go for.
And how do you decide, do you decide that all on your own or kind of with your co-host?
When it comes to Nakama,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, I don't decide what we do, I decide how it comes out. In that one, I'm more of an editor than I am anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the Dispatch, that's entirely me. That's just, there's even been a few where I get an idea and 2 minutes later it's out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just does what it does and we hope for the best.
Moving on to our second hot sauce, we've got Seam Double. That's 6,200 Scoville.
Scoville. Yes.
Hot units. I don't know what the HU stands for, but it's going to stand for hot units today. Our next question is, you've covered quite a few cons and panels within the last couple years, which congratulations to you, dude. What's your wildest con experience?
So wildest con experience in general would have to be, I attend cons almost always with the same people.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend of mine named Adrian,
Uh-huh.
who, that one's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It has been more times than not that we have gotten lost in some way inside of the San Jose Convention Center building.
Mm.
But the craziest time, and I say craziest because it took us the longest amount of time to find out where we were, we parked our car in the adjoining parking structure. He's like, all right, we gotta walk back so we can get in line to get our tickets. And I go, why are we gonna walk all the way over there? There's an exit right here. There's a big old door with a glowing exit sign. And so we walk through, and we walk down a very, very narrow corridor that's all dirty and dingy, and there's pipes, and it looks like something out of Resident Evil. But there, at the end of it is another door that has a light that says exit, and we wind up following just repeated doors that say exit on them through more industrial-looking thing. Like, it's clearly like a maintenance tunnel. And the entire time he's like, dude, let's go back. Clearly we're not going the way that we're supposed to. And I go, no, there's an exit. And so we end up getting through into this really big room where on the other side of that exit, there are several exit doors side by side. On the other side of those exit doors, we can hear is the street. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that every single one of those exit doors is an emergency exit door. And so we go, do we go through it?
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid, is this one of those doors where you go through an alarm will sound? So we go, nope. There's some stairs up there. Let's walk in and see if we can find anybody. And we walk in. And it's just the convention hall. Like, exhibitors are setting up.
You're just kind of like...
We're just inside the convention. I was like, let's just go in and let's just say, my bad. We took a couple wrong doors. Like, be honest. We took a couple wrong doors in. But he's like, no, because they'll think we tried to sneak in on purpose. And what if we get kicked out? And it's like, I really doubt that's going to happen. If anything, they'll be alerted to the fact that there's a way to get in here without a ticket.
Yeah. You should have. Been I'll charge you and I'll tell you my secret of how I got in here.
The thing is, by the time we decided that my plan makes sense, we went back and the doors were locked. Mm-hmm. So it's entirely possible somebody saw the door open, was like, oh, and then went and closed it and locked it.
Yeah.
And so Adrian resorted to waving his arms around in front of the security camera until a guy with a motorcycle helmet came out, looked at us, was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we were like, "We got stuck." And he's like, and then he goes back into his office, and then he comes back out and he goes, "You can go through them." And then so
he's like, "Get out."
Yeah, we go through them and we're back out on the street. But we were stuck under there, I'm not kidding, for 40 minutes.
On to our next hot sauce. We have the fermented kimchi with 1800 Scoville. I'll get it right at some point during the show. You and your co-host Sal are often found to be disagreeing during your show, where you say one thing and he just argues with you about the other. Can you give more details on what it's like to collaborate with somebody on a project like this?
So I think for the Nakama, that's a kind of an important thing, because the whole point of the Nakama podcast is, yeah, we do a lot of, different things at times, but at its heart, it is a review show. And so for a review show, you want someone who's going to say, "Oh man, this was great. This is the kind of thing I like, and I thought it was amazing." And then you want somebody to say, "No, I didn't." You want somebody to be there who's going to help curb what might be a fairly biased opinion. And I will say we both have our own ones. I tend to get really, really excited as long as something is like sci-fi and somewhat actiony. Oh, and if it's got good music, it'll be a 10 out of 10 for me immediately. For Sal, if it's fantasy, or like an isekai, which is just when people die and get to take it to a fantasy world, he can't be objective about that. He'll be like, "Oh, this is like a 7 out of 10 anime or an 8 out of 10 anime." And I'm like, "Dude, this was boring for 2 out of the 3 episodes." Yeah, for like, you can look at my stuff and you can say, "Oh, I'm more like him. I trust his opinion more." You can look at Peralta's and say, either, I myself am more conservative in what I enjoy. Or you can look at Peralta's opinion to decide whether or not it's an appropriate show to watch around your family. Because if she says no, if she says, "I don't like this," it's probably because there's more than a moderate amount of sexuality or more than a moderate amount of violence, and it may not be something you want to throw on the family TV. So I think having a difference in opinion in those things is important. The reason why I don't work with him for the Dispatch is that doesn't require a difference of opinion. It actually doesn't require too much of an opinion. Like, I don't think the format necessitates that someone else needs to then go, "Well, I think this."
Yeah.
Right? That's what the comments are for that one.
Moving on to Los Calientes. Ew.
No, you gotta do it.
Yeah, moving on to Los Calientes. How are you deciding what is caliente enough to go to as far as the cons and events that you're attending?
So, what we've done historically has been look at cons that aren't necessarily like startups, because there are a lot of small conventions, but they're small conventions. They're, a couple hundred people in one room at Hyatt. There's nothing wrong with those. I used to like going to those a lot when I was a kid. But when it comes to convention coverage, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
The way that we generally pick conventions we go to is by looking at something that is big enough, but also close by, because,
you're like, I'm not trying. Yeah.
The further you go, the more expensive it tends to go.
Yeah.
So far, we haven't gone to anything further than the San Jose area, but that might change.
Ooh, how exciting.
Yeah. So in short, it's mostly practicality and does it fit the genre of anime. You know what? I went really ham with this sauce. I really like it.
We are moving on to Chairman's Meow's Revenge. That was my evil genius trick or turn.
Did you make the connection because of Inspector Gadget having
no.
Dr. Claw, where he was the evil bad guy in the chair and he had a cat?
Yeah.
And
I was like,
because I'm pretty sure Chairman Meow is
Chairman's Meow
just a connection to the Chairman Mao.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But I do like the Dr. Claw connection there, so I think I prefer that one more.
So speaking of the cons that you're deciding to go to and its panels, you've covered quite a few, such as the rise of webtoons, forced relationships, modern relationships, the isekai renaissance, to be an American anime and the morbid world of Junji Ito.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get over that initial stage fright of those presentations? And what is your spirit guide that helps you kind of navigate? You're like spirit guide.
No.
What helps you like navigate that really scary moment where you're talking in front of a couple hundred people who are definitely really into anime and mangas, that you're like, ah, shit, I cannot mess this up for them because they will yell at me?
The structure of that question is really funny because I think my one statement answers both of them. How do you get over, or at least how did I get over the initial stage fright, is directly tied to sort of what is my guide through, you're good, what is my guide through the panel process initially. It's the same exact thing. It's the thought that...
Just the thought that counts.
This panel is an hour and 15, it's an hour and a half, but they give you like some time on either side. So it's really like an hour 10, hour 15 minutes. So yeah, panel starts at 2. By 3:30, this is done. It doesn't matter what happens. At 3:30, I am no longer in this room.
This is no longer my problem.
Exactly.
I feel like in those scenarios, though, you can really tell your co-hosts or your co-panelists, like, just pretend they're in their underwear. Because more often than not, these people kind of are, just for depending on the cosplay that they're doing. And then it's just like, ah, shit, I don't know if this is better or worse. It's like, oh god, this is too sexy.
No, actually, watching people enter the room with the cosplay thing is one of my more favorite things. Not for that reason, but because it gives you an opportunity to shout them out. We had a couple of Lethal Company cosplayers come in to our Junji Ito panel, and so we actually got to start off the panel by sharing Lethal Company stories with people in the room, like while we were waiting for it to start and waiting for everybody to fill in. And the video for that panel will come out pretty soon.
Ooh,
I'm finishing
Very
editing
excited.
it. But you're going to see a little worm creature from the game, and it's totally not explained because our camera guy didn't start recording until after the interactions happened.
Yeah.
But the little worm guy is there because we were sharing Lethal Company stories with some cosplayers there.
I mean, speaking of panels and all that, who is your dream collaboration on your podcast or on your panel? And what kind of questions would you ask? By the way, I'm asking you, are you ready for MIG 2?
Sure.
Is it MIG 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought about that one. You're like, maybe, maybe not.
Let's give it a good shake. As far as a collaboration I would love to do on the actual show, there's a bunch. There's like a huge amount. However, there's one that sticks out a little bit more only because I would kind of have to make it happen under the wrong pretenses.
Okay.
And it would be getting to be able to interview Sam Witwer on the show because he's a voice actor, but he's not done voice acting in anime really. He's done video games. He played Star Killer in the Force Unleashed video games. He had the video game Days Gone. He was the main guy in. But also, I am a big fan of his band, and I was gifted for Christmas a CD that was signed by him.
That's exciting.
But it was signed by him a little bit wrong. I won't go into the whole story because it takes forever. So in order to fix it, you're going to have a follow-up record of his band's second album, where the signing of it is just an apology letter throughout the whole thing. Like literally every surface except the back. And I really want to get an interview with him, and then at the end of it go like, oh, before we go,
can you apologize on the back too?
No, can you sign this and hand it to him with the back cover first? And then have him go through it and be like, ah, and then really be like, no, you didn't put anything on the back, so you should write something on the back of it too. I want to make it impossible to display. I'd have to hang it in the middle of a room from like the ceiling to be able to see everything.
Turn it on a little string. Moving on, we are going to be trying out. Ooh, see, here's the thing. I'm full of red flags. You're full of red flags. This hot sauce is a red flag as well. You know what else is a red flag? Not watching animes about food. Something that is constantly being featured in new up-and-coming shows. How what are some dishes that you would personally like to try, and how do you think the dishes in this show exemplify the cultural impact in Japan and versus here in the United States?
So there are two shows that jump to my mind when I think of food and anime. One of them is obviously Food Wars, and that is a show that is about a kid who goes to culinary school, but it's a really competitive culinary school.
I didn't like that way.
Because it needs to be.
This is a red flag. This smells nasty.
Because it needs to be really competitive. Because it's a show for boys. It's got to have aggression everywhere.
Yeah. Sure.
The other one.
That is a red flag as well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Boys, you do not need to be aggressive. It is okay.
The other one is a very, very sweet show called Sweetness and Lightning.
Oh, I love that one.
Yes, and when it comes to a dish I would want to try, Sweetness and Lightning doesn't necessarily have any, because the reason why I like that one is more the relationship between the dad and his daughter. But when it comes to Food Wars, the manga and the anime have little bits where they go, here's the recipe that they're doing. But also the food gets increasingly more complicated. They start getting into molecular gastronomy and doing the thing where they turn like food into bubbles and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna make one of those recipes, but I want to try one.
How do you think that impacts like how we view it in America?
If anything, I think it's a really good example of the reverse. Maybe not necessarily America, but like West.
Mm-hmm.
Because that show, having the focus on culinary stuff, there's a lot of emphasis on like the way that Japanese have historically prepared their own food, but so many of those characters aren't from Japan, or are from Japan but are obsessed with French food or, German food or something else, that it's a really good way to display, one, what must be popular for Japanese people, if those are the things they want to feature. But then two, how they would put their own spin on those things. Yeah, that one's got heat.
Yeah.
I like that one. It's got the side of my tongue going. I like it.
It's tickling.
But
bet you wish you had some ranch now.
No, I hate ranch. Ranch is the devil. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's more of a really good way to examine how the Japanese must look at the culinary impact of just the West in general.
Pretty much the world, honestly.
I feel like the Japanese have like this really cutesy, fun way of displaying their food, whereas Americans have Gordon Ramsay like yelling at them about Hell's Kitchen and how stupid you are. I feel like it'd be better if like there was something like that could show us about like how to cook or like what kind of foods we could be eating.
Well, I mean, if you want to try something that's a little bit bubblier, you got Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Is it Guy Fieri?
Guy Fieri is a national treasure.
I love him.
Or what about...
Guy's amazing.
Wow, shoot, what was it?
Man
vs. Food.
Yeah.
I remember Man vs. Food. That was fun. I feel like they could make a really fun anime out of that.
It basically is one.
Moving on to evolution and its constant change and acceptances. Anime used to be a niche that you wouldn't really admit out loud. You used to kind of be like a little more secretive about it, and you wouldn't tell your friends that you really enjoyed it. Now that everyone is out and proud and excited to tell everyone that they're a furry and order their pizza really animated and all of that fun jazz, should we send them back?
Yeah, I think we bring back bullying. I love doing conventions. I love doing press. I love being a part of the community. Talking to people is really great. But everything in moderation.
There should have been in moderation.
You can be too much with it, and a lot of people are too much with it. I don't generally have a problem with furries, but there's one I have a really big problem with. I won't describe what he looks like, what he as a person looks like, or what his fursuit looks like, because both are very identifiable. He would know immediately, and people who knew him would know immediately. And I don't know him as a guy, so maybe he's actually not that bad. But the aura this guy gives off is so borderline sinister. We've run into him twice.
This is cruel and unusual punishment.
The first time, it was just weird. It was just awkward. But the second time, like you can feel the room get colder before you even noticed he was there. Like you started looking because you felt it, not for any other reason. And it was a strange interaction. Houston handled it. He got no vibes off this guy. He was like, all right, he seems like a nice guy. Literally, the rest of us.
He's used to that kind of vibe.
The rest of us, as soon as we saw him, were like nudging each other with our elbows, being like, shit, it's him.
He's back.
Yeah. See, I don't like that guy. I have no real reason other than just he gives me bad vibes, but I think you're supposed to trust those. So.
I don't know. Oh, God, how'd you feel about that one?
It sucks.
I don't like it. I can still feel it. My lips feel very, like, plump and juicy. Who needs to spend money on makeup that, you know, it's too much. Pepper's up. And you know what shouldn't have been up? Donald Trump when he got shot.
Oh my God.
Do you think you guys are constantly talking about current events going on in life, whether it's in anime or in pop culture, through the Dispatch or even in the Nakama podcast from time to time? Do you think there should be an anime about his assassination and his recovery and all of, you know, how cartoonish everything and wild everything was? And what would you like to see actually more of as far as like pop culture goes?
So when it comes to like assassination in the anime, right? I immediately go to, I don't think there should be one about him specifically, but if there was a historical anime about important assassinations or attempts at that, you know, as season 1, episode 1 is Julius Caesar getting stabbed 15 times by the Roman Senate, and then maybe like the end of season 1 is Lincoln getting shot, and then, you know, if they continue that, you got season 2, episode 1, you know, it's JFK, and maybe that lasts for a couple episodes. I'd watch that.
I think like the last like episode of a season would just end with like him being, you know, Donald Trump being shot, and just be like, ah, and then cut scene. And then it's just like, like the really like sweet like Japanese music.
You know what? I'm gonna amend what I said. I think what you do is every episode is someone getting assassinated. I think the end of the season is you cover the Donald Trump one. Skip Reagan. Like, yeah, he got shot, but he survived, and it undercuts what I think would be a really good way to end it.
For the ranch, yeah.
You end that last one with he gets shot and he goes down, and then you see him stand back up, and he's the one guy in the whole anime who didn't get actually assassinated, and then you roll credits.
I think in between, right before he like gets back up, he should start having flashbacks of JFK, and it's just like this wild like ah, and all of a sudden you see like the light leave JFK's eyes, and it's just Donald Trump being like, fight. Did you already have your bite?
I did.
You're fucking bold. Should I be scared? Oh no, God!
It burns, but it burns in like a cayenne pepper way.
Kind of sweet.
Not in like it burns like barbecue burns when it's a hot barbecue. Not like, it's not as aggressive as the previous one actually. It's very manageable.
I feel like I could have gone from this one to this one and then this one.
Yeah. I feel like it should be this way.
Honestly, it's a little disrespectful that it just jumped out at us like that. Oh gosh. In the show, it's tradition to add a little extra to your wing. You're welcome to not do that if you're a coward. Or, you know, if you're brave enough to eat this sauce the way that you answer your questions, then go for it.
You know, I saw Conan O'Brien on the show, and I feel like it would be a disservice to one of my childhood heroes if I didn't fucking go for it.
Oh, jeez. Mm-hmm. Okay, good, because you're going to need a little bit of superpowers to answer this last question. You're not prepared for it, and I feel like you just need a little bit of liquid courage, per se.
Okay.
Are you ready?
That's on there. That's a bunch.
Yeah,
that's a bunch.
All right.
It looks like a candy bar now. This is very molassesy.
Is that?
Well, in texture.
Oh, that's a smell. Ooh, I'm scared.
Oh, what did I do?
Okay. Take a bite, and I'll ask you my last questions. It's super controversial.
Okay.
Cartoons, comics, anime, are they all the same thing?
Yep. At its core, it's all sequential art, right? It's all picture follows picture follows picture follows picture, and it tells a story. Mm-hmm. But like at a certain point, I do think it's important to draw distinctions if you just want to talk about the specifics of something.
It's coming.
Yep, it's burning the shit out of my mouth. But I think at its core, everything is a cartoon. If you drew it, it's a cartoon. And I will go so far as to say the Mona Lisa is a cartoon. I'll go so far as to say Starry Night's a cartoon.
Michelangelo will be so upset.
The carvings on the Lincoln Memorial are cartoons. Because at its core, cartoon comes from the root French word of carton, which referred to the kind of thing that you drew on, like a board. So it really it meant any kind of drawing. And as recent as 2000, Charles Schultz, before he died, was calling himself a cartoonist. I covered this on the Dispatch. I think it's just a term that's fallen out fairly recently, and I think we need to bring it back. I like.
Yeah, I get.
I'm calling a cartoonist. This is spicy. It's burning everything. But
Look into that camera. That camera. Just kidding. There's no other cameras. It's only that camera deep into the eyes. But what have you got coming up?
oh, okay. First things first. I now realize I misspoke earlier. Conan O'Brien, you did a skit where you and Andy Richter. This would have been in 2000 and maybe 3, where you and Andy Richter dubbed over Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Comedically, that is a tenuous enough connection to anime for me to say, I want an interview. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how sad my dad was when the millennium came and you had to stop doing your in the year 2000 sketch because it was the year 2000 and it didn't make sense anymore and it wouldn't have been funny anymore. I need you on the show.
We'll have your people call his people.
My people's me. I'll email you immediately after this is over. While my mouth is still burning. What was the question? Oh, right, yes. Anime Dispatch is on Spotify. We're doing video episodes now. It's not going to look this bad. It might look bad, but in a different way. Nakama's with the new season should be doing video episodes as well. We've been going on for a long time. We're going into the next season, so we're going to be covering some really big stuff. Like my dear friend, I forgot that my dear friend Odo-san or something like that. It's about a girl who has a friend who is a deer person, and then also the Suicide Squad Isekai and a couple of other things. But there should be video episodes. Also, the next episode of the Nakama that we're going to record, not the one that's coming out next, will be the 100th episode. So that's pretty cool.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And then we'll be at GalaxyCon in San Jose next month. There's another
presenting.
Yes. Well, maybe they pre-approved us, but they haven't given us a time yet. It's entirely a scheduling thing. If we can make it work, we're gonna make it work. We'll be there. You'll see some stuff from us on both
When is that?
the Dispatch and Nakama. Second weekend in August. I forgot what the numbers are.
Okay. What? Is that all you have coming up? Or is
we might have another thing coming up, but I'm not ready to announce whether or not that's a thing because the things haven't worked out. But I've made some strange TikToks recently, as of late, and I may have gotten contacted by the people who I've made those TikToks about, and we may be trying to work something out. So who knows? Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I won't.
Maybe you'll find out at GalaxyCon.
Maybe I'll find out. Oh no, I hope I don't find out at GalaxyCon. I hope I find out sooner than that. Because if it works out, I will get back from GalaxyCon and then hop on a plane 4 days later.
Ooh, that's exciting.
We'll see if it works out. Well, hopefully. If it doesn't, oh well. But I'm dying. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, guys.